We're here now with Debbie's friend Chris. Chris, fill me in why you started doing these protests against Nissan on this product, the Nissan Altima, that catches on fire, misfires, doesn't work.
Right.
Couldn't it just be a vapor lock because of the hot temperatures?
No. This is an actual ECM module programming, and they actually programmed this car to go to 1800 RPMs, which means the car would slow down at a high speed of rate. This was their alternative to correct the problem, but it's just as equally dangerous. Now, at the time when the engine soon light came on, I took it back to this dealer. This is the same dealer she bought the car from. It's the same dealer that she's been there several times with, the Larry Van Tile Group, which is the one that owns some of the biggest dealerships in Phoenix, on Camelback Road and Bell Road.
Larry
Van Tile. The Van Tile Holding Group. But he's a car dealership that sells every brand. But anyhow, we had taken it back when the engine soon light came on, and then we later found out, when we got the car back, there was another recall on that recall that we weren't notified. So we brought the car into the garage, and I was going to make an attempt to change the sensor out because I was worried that this car was going to start on fire, or she was already having problems with it stalling in traffic. And she found on the internet there was another recall, and then as we opened the hood, we see bolts that were taken out that weren't even replaced, put back in when they did an inspection on the car. So there was no way we could take it back to these dealers after what they had done to us. And then they tried to charge us $900 at that time, which should have been under the first recall.
Did this make you a little angry?
Oh, you get very frustrated because it's hot temperatures, you're driving a car that's dangerous, you're not getting any satisfaction from the dealership, and you're not getting any satisfaction with Nissan North America, or Nissan Japan, or Renault France. So basically what happened was that I decided to protest the Nissan dealerships in the valley, in Arizona, which basically is the Phoenix area valley. And we started protesting just the dealership where we had bought the car and the issues with the service, and then things got really out of hand.
And that's when this guy Max...
No, this is, we were protesting the dealership with just this Nissan dealership, and what happened was they had hired a sidewalkers, and these are guys that do advertisements in the city for car companies.
Oh, okay.
And they sent this guy across the street, a group of them, and knocked me to the street. And in one of my videos, it basically tells you as an innocent bystander that's going to the bank, and a CAD call to the police describes how the Nissan picketers were knocking me into the street. He actually called the police for me. And then the police came. Of course, they didn't really see anything at the time, so they didn't do anything. But we continued to picket on. And we ended up in Chandler, Nissan, which is a power dealer. We didn't know who the power dealer were. The power dealers are AutoNation. Mike Jackson is the CEO out of Florida. It's the largest car company dealership in the country. He sells every brand, but he actually sells more imports than any other brand in America. And we went to a Chandler dealership, and this was a Nissan dealership. We weren't aware of who the power dealers were or who AutoNation was. And then a gentleman comes out there with me and DW. We had two signs. He came out there and threatened to arrest us. It's in one of my videos. It's in when car dealers attack too.
Right, I saw that.
Right, you see the audio where this guy says he's going to do a citizen's arrest on a woman. Well, I got really angry. I called all the board members of AutoNation, found out who they were. And I played this audio for all their board members and the CEO and the corporate executives that this isn't right for your employees to come out there and threaten people.
Did they care?
No. They had no concerns whatsoever.
So basically these big corporate tycoons are basically saying, eh.
Exactly.
Stick it where the sun doesn't shine.
Well,
we'll sell more cars, and you're nobody, and we don't care if your friend Debbie burns to death in our car. That's basically what Nissan dealership and this big guy, what's his name?
AutoNation.
AutoNation and the Nissan dealership are saying, we're going to sell these Altimas anyway, and if you burn to death, nah, we don't care. That's what they're saying?
Yeah. Well, the manufacturer...
Is that what they're saying?
Yes, exactly. The manufacturer plays it off on the dealership, and the dealership plays it off on the manufacturer.
Now, was there an old man that said he'd come up to you and told you? Tell me about that old man that had a similar or identical vehicle. What happened to his car?
Well, I was at the Pinnacle Nissan in Scottsdale, Arizona, very well known. This is the Van Tile Group Nissan dealership too. A man pulled up when I was out there with my sign, and he told me he had bought in the same car, and the car started on fire in his driveway, and Nissan notified him later, after the car had burned, that it had a recall. And he went back to the dealership, which was the Pinnacle dealership in Scottsdale. They told him to take a hike, and then I think that eventually Nissan made some kind of restitution with the guy. What basically happened after...
But they waited until the car burned down.
Exactly.
Instead of saying, hello, sir, you've got a recall, we need to get your car in and fix it, they waited until it had burned down.
Well, the mandated federal laws is you're supposed to send the letters, notified recalls, so you don't throw them away for safety. The campaign letter is supposed to have a campaign number so that you're able to track that car by the Multiple Transportation Safety. And everything in regards to the recall, they didn't want people to know, but they misled people and they endangered the citizens of America's people's lives in regards to that car, solely to make a profit, solely to pull out ahead above Nissan and Toyota.
Well, they got to make a profit or they don't stay in business, don't they?
Well, sure, but not at the expense of American citizens' lives.
You said like making a profit's a bad thing.
No, it's not, but at the extent of the safety for women and children and people that buy their products, they cross the line.
Did they write you back any letters and say basically screw you?
No, Mrs. West got to correspond with a rep from Nissan for some time, and we audio taped this guy, plus Japan and France. And basically they were relying on Nissan North America and Tennessee to handle this. And they were going to fix the things on the car at one time. They did make some offers with an attorney, but they said they'd come and flatbed the car out of here. But they wouldn't give Mrs. Westcott a car to drive to work. Well, she lives 100 miles from here.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Now the worst part of it is, as I started protesting, it got uglier and uglier. So as we left the Chandler dealership and we were threatened, and like I said, I contacted Mike Jackson's Auto Nation. I played that for the board members. Mrs. Goodman, American Express we're talking about, Lowe's Hotels.
When you were done playing this for the board members, did they say thank you very much, Chris?
No, they just act like it didn't matter at all.
But they listened?
They were all aware of it because I played it in their voicemails over and over.
Oh, you played it to the voicemail.
Most of them wouldn't come to the phone as soon as they knew what it was about. It's the same old thing. I know what this is. I'm going to avoid you. But what the worst part was is when we got to Peoria, Arizona. And Peoria, Arizona is the mayor of it is Bob Barrett, and that's the guy you've seen in the video, McCain Barrett. He was the one that was responsible for the things that happened at that dealership involving the children and Mrs. Westcott. So we proceeded to Peoria, Arizona. We're on the west side of Bell Road. The Nissan dealership's on one corner. Auto Nation, GM dealership, Power Dealers is on the other corner. We decided to protest both. We're out there off and on in front of the Nissan dealership for a while. They're calling the police. The police are getting chummy with them. They don't want us out there. So I said, you know what? We're going to protest the Chevrolet dealership. We get out there in front of the Chevrolet dealership, and you see in the video when car dealers attack, he has two different color shirts. The first day he has a green shirt. They come out there and they basically harass us. And that was management.
But why the Chevy dealer? I mean, they're not the people you bought the car from.
Well, because the reason is that Auto Nation sells Nissan as well too. And Auto Nation, Mike Jackson is on the Auto Nation task force with Obama. But we protested them basically because they threatened us. Is the real reason why.
How did they threaten you?
Well, when we were at the Chandler dealership, the salesman threatened to arrest us. He said he was going to apprehend and arrest Debbie for disorderly conduct, and then when we stood out there, they almost ran us down with a car about a sidewalk. So that made me angry at the Auto Nation group. So I figured because we were on the same corner, I'll pick at them for that.
So what should Americans do about it? Supposing there's 5,000 people see this video. What would you tell them to do about it?
Well, you can call your congressman, but as soon as you ask your congressman to go up against any type of major corporations, they get cold feet, they listen to you, and they spin you. The best thing they might give you is a chump letter, if you're even going to get that, or they completely ignore you. Our local representative were all the women and the kids that were attacked in that video. He never wrote one letter. His name is Jack Harper.